Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty and fashion trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered.
Hey, and welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am, again, of course, your host, Becky, coming at you with all things alternative beauty. And in today's episode, first of all, I wanted to say congratulations on making it another year. Happy 2020, everybody. And I was thinking about the new year, and specifically, I was thinking in terms of, what are we looking for this year? What are the new things that we want to see this year? And for me, personally, I would like to see more indie brands, more alternative brands become a little more mainstream. At this point, I would say like Jeffree Star, Kat Von D, like those are kind of the more alternative versions in makeup right now. But for me personally, I would really like to see more alternative brands, more indie brands really getting a lot more recognition for their products. So in today's episode, I thought we would talk a little bit about indie products that I have heard of, some of which I've tried, and just kind of give you an idea. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't heard of them. Either way, definitely check them out and maybe buy one or two things. I don't know. Up to you. So the first brand that I wanted to talk about today is Sugar Pill Cosmetics. That is Sugar Pill Cosmetics. They are a cruelty and drama-free, it says, cosmetics company that is based in Los Angeles, California. Now, Sugar Pill has been on my radar for years. I think the first time I had heard of them was in 2015, so it's been a good 5 years. They're actually one of the first crazy color palettes that I ever bought. I bought 2 of their 4-pan palettes, so you got a huge amount of product. But basically, Sugar Pill has been really consistent even from back then. They're kind of devoted to bright colored palettes. They've now expanded from eyeshadow. They also do liquid lipsticks. They do glitters. They do pressed shadows. They do loose shadows. And it makes me so happy to see that they're doing well. It does seem like they are on the incline towards more mainstream attention. I think in terms of internet fame, I think they're there. But it would be really nice to see if maybe they end up in Sephora or an Ulta or some kind of deal like that, because I think their products are great. You want to talk about a full colored pigment, they've got them. I mean, as someone who was really just starting to get into makeup, like for real, like adding eyeshadow into the routine, these shadows were great. And especially because I was starting to experiment with, brighter colors. These were great palettes to have in my collection to start with. And bam, like the color is there immediately. So definitely check them out. If you haven't heard of them before, it's Sugar Pill Cosmetics. They have a great formula. They've got really cute packaging. Definitely want to see more of them in 2020. I can tell you that. The second indie brand I wanted to bring up is called Black Moon Cosmetics, and I have been wanting to try out their products for years now, and every time I'm at a point where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to try them, I'm not in the opportunity to actually buy anything at the moment. And especially now, like right after the holidays, I'm like tapped out on money. I don't want to spend any more money. Your girl's got to pay rent, so can't be buying more lipsticks. But Black Moon Cosmetics is a gorgeous brand. They have a beautiful product. I've heard from friends of mine who have tried it that the lipsticks are great. They have a liquid lipstick. They do pressed powders. They do eyeshadows. And all of their products have this really gorgeous kind of, I don't know, like hollow goth feel to them is how I want to describe them. I would definitely say take a look at their Instagram page and their website. Everything is very kind of ethereal. They've got a holographic thing going, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Is it's a bunch of very ethereal colors. Again, they're cruelty free. They're vegan, made in the USA. But they do ship worldwide. So if you're listening and you're not in the US of A, don't worry, they will ship to you. So definitely something that I am hoping to try come 2020. But at this point, it's a product that I haven't tried, just something that I've admired from a distance for years now. I remember I used to work with a girl who had turned me on to the brand, and I was like, oh my gosh, that color is so amazing on your lips. What is that? Like, where did you get it? And she told me Black Moon Cosmetics, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get my hands on them. And then I just have not been able to since. So it's an ongoing struggle. And in 2020, I will get there. So the third brand I wanted to bring up is called Spoiled Lips Cosmetics. Again, that is Spoiled Lips Cosmetics. And this isn't kind of a new brand for me. I followed them because I was entering a sweepstakes, as I think everybody can relate to. I was entering a sweepstakes on Instagram, and Spoiled Lips Cosmetics was hosting it. I did not win. That's okay. But it did give me the ability to look into this brand as a whole. And one of the first things I saw with this brand, recently they posted a picture. They have a palette that's shaped like a Ouija board planchette. And I was like, oh girl, I'm in. Like immediately I was like, oh yeah, we'll take a look at them. And then I saw that picture and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm into that. And plus on top of it, the colors like that are picked within this palette are just so pretty, and they're cohesive with each other, but they're kind of odd, I think, to look at first, especially if you're someone who isn't into a lot of bright colors. This specific palette is like dark blues, grays, greens, purples. There are some really gorgeous orange shades in here, a really gorgeous red shade, and then some glitter shades as well. And so for someone who isn't into a lot of color in their looks, this probably isn't the palette for you. But they do also have several quote unquote, tamer palettes that, you may or may not enjoy. I for one am into a lot of color in my palettes. I want color in my palettes. I need like maybe one black shade, and then the rest can be all like bright colors. Like that's fine. So I am interested to get my hands on some of these products. They do palettes. They do liquid lips as well. And I've heard a lot of really good things about this company just in terms of what I've seen online. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of bad reviews. So I'm interested to get my hands on some products from them, again in 2020 when I finally regained my finances from the blow of the holidays. I will buy more makeup, much to my boyfriend's dismay. And yeah, I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited for it. So the last brand that I wanted to bring up is called Necromancy Cosmetics. They pretty much only do bullet lipsticks rather than like a liquid lip, which is pretty much my go-to at this point. However, saying that, they have a gorgeous variety of shades from pastels to black, which I'm into. Specifically at this point, I am looking at these gorgeous green shades that they have. They have a great like steel gray shade called It's Wednesday. So basically you have a gorgeous product here. It is, again, vegan and cruelty free. It's handmade in Puerto Rico, which I thought was really interesting. So again, it's all these things are products that I really want to get my hands on, even including, Sugar Pill. I am very interested to try out new Sugar Pill. I'm interested to try these new products. And again, just as kind of an overall New Year's wish for myself, I am definitely hoping that this new year is full of trying new things, bringing awareness to indie brands, things like that. So I hope you will take a look at these brands. I hope that you will buy from these brands if something touches your fancy, or if if something really speaks to you. I hope that I was able to give you some new recommendations. And on that note, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we're going to be talking about a couple more indie brands. We're straying away from makeup, and we are actually going into the world of perfume. Stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am, again, of course, your host, Becky, and coming at you with all things alternative beauty all the time. And in our first segment, we were talking about indie brands in terms of makeup that I personally would like to see for myself in real life, because I've been staring at them for years on my Instagram, one. And two, basically, I would like to see more indie brands within the mainstream. I like seeing small businesses succeed, and especially with, products that I am excited to get my hands on, I would like other people to see them and to recognize them as, as makeup brands. I think there's a thought of, there's X amount of makeup brands. They're sold in Sephora, they're sold in Ulta, and that's what we accept. But I think that it's important to remember that there are other brands out there. Maybe you just haven't found that perfect shade of red because it's with an indie brand and it's not, you know what I mean? This is kind of on a tangent, but so that was our first segment. And in our second segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about perfumes, and specifically, out of the ordinary perfumes or indie perfumes that I've seen floating around the internet as well. I actually do own one of the brands that I'm going to be talking about. But I am someone who likes very unique scents. I like a floral scent, but I don't want it to be like your standard floral scent. Or, in that being said, I do own a bottle of Chanel perfume, which has that kind of standard floral scent, and I do like it. But most of the time I'd like something either a little sweeter, or I'd like something that's a little more out of the ordinary, maybe jasmine, or maybe lavender, or maybe rose. It just depends on, what I'm into that day. I'm someone who's really into flowers on a whole. And honestly, if you go back in some of my podcasts, there was one segment where I was talking about self-care, and I went on a whole tangent about candles. That same tangent basically applies to this episode, this segment in this episode, especially because what I look for in my candles is what I look for in my perfume. I like sweeter scents. I like scents that are something that you don't normally find in like the drugstore or Victoria's Secret, or, you know, kind of like the more popular, I won't say societal norm perfume, because that sounds strange. But I like something that's a little different, personally. So the first one I wanted to talk about is called Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab. This was actually a brand that I had heard from YouTuber It's Black Friday. I'm a fan of hers. She is full on goth lifestyle all the time, and I'm so jealous of her home decor skills. I'm jealous of her wardrobe. And a while back, she had done a vanity tour of her makeup and her setup. And one of the things that she had mentioned was she had two different kinds of perfume on her vanity. One was from Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, and the other was called Perfume Noir. And I looked into these, and I'm super interested to get my hands on some of these scents because, one, they all seem to be plant-based in some way, and two, they're all very dark, very gothic feeling in their aesthetic, which of course I go for. So in terms of Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, the one thing that I really liked because I had looked at them before and again ran into the same problem, your girl on a budget, and they've updated their website a little bit, and one of the things that I really liked in checking in on them again more recently was they have a whole welcome message saying things like, "We specialize in formulating body and household blends with a dark, romantic, gothic tone. Our scents run the aesthetic gamut of magical, pagan, and mythological blends, Renaissance, medieval, and Victorian formulas, and horror/gothic themed scents. By utilizing our knowledge of herbalism and aromatherapy, the conceptual theories of hermetic alchemy, and the aesthetic artistry of perfumery, I think I'm saying that right, have mastered the art of encapsulating allegorical ideas into singular olfactory experiences. We are the first of our kind and have offered over 15 years of practical experience in the field." So, I mean, just in that, I'm super interested. They have scents called Dorian. They have scents called Alice, and they have whole collections in terms of Yule, in terms of autumn, in terms of Halloween. So there's really no limit to the aesthetic here, which I am so for. Then secondly, you have the brand Perfume Noir. I'm having trouble with words today. Excuse me. Which was the second brand that It's Black Friday had mentioned on her channel. And the thing that I like about this specific brand is the use of patchouli, which I'm a huge fan of just as someone who's into incense and herbs and florals. Patchouli is something that does it for me. It brings me kind of to a nostalgic place, if that's the best way of saying it. But usually a lot of their perfumes that I'm seeing are patchouli and citrus, patchouli and amber, patchouli and sweet oriental. So all of these things I'm really interested to see because patchouli is a really kind of strong scent. So I'm interested to see, once I get my hands on some, if the patchouli outweighs some of the other scents. So the third brand that I wanted to mention in terms of indie brands may sound familiar if you've been listening to my podcasts, and it's from Birkin Hair Company. Now, if Birkin Hair Company sounds familiar, they make candles as well. So again, if you listened to my podcast on self-care a while back, Birkin Hair are one of my favorite candle makers, and they also make perfume oils. They actually come in a cute little perfume roller, at least mine did. If you don't know the story, I was able to bump into them at a witch's market last year. It was amazing. I was so excited to see them because I had seen them on Instagram for a while. And the thing that I really like about their candles, one, they have smells that I wouldn't necessarily have thought for a candle. Some of their smells are very sweet. All of their smells are kind of mystical or very earthy. So I got one perfume from them. It's called Haunted, and it's got this kind of mystical sweetness, maybe like a lilac or something like that. But I wear it and I roll it like underneath my ears so that I can put, I put a little under my ears, I put a little on my wrists, and it just kind of moves with me, and it smells so good. It smells so good. And even though it's an oil, it doesn't feel very oily. It still feels very much like a perfume. And then like all of these brands, common theme, florals used, naturally made. Most of these are homemade. And so for the last indie brand of perfume to check out, I put down the brand Alchemia. I think I'm saying that right. It's an Etsy store. It's, again, it's handmade. It's all natural. And again, I'm just so interested to get my hands on these. They come in small vials. You can get several of them to kind of start with. And I love the packaging of this because it's very old world. It's very kind of fantasy, old school pagan. So the whole aesthetic I'm very interested in. So if you have any other suggestions in terms of perfumes and things like that, please feel free to go to our Facebook page and leave your recommendations. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm sure I'm forgetting a million of them. So, please go to our Facebook page. Let's start up the conversation. What are your favorite perfumes? I'm curious. I'm always looking to find new smells and new scents. But I'm also going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be continuing talking about indie brands as well as narrowing down the field into hair and skincare. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am again, of course, your host, Becky, coming at you with all things alternative beauty. And in today's episode, we've been talking about indie brands / brands that you may not know about. And in our first segment, we talked a lot about makeup brands. In our second, we talked about perfume brands. And then in this segment, I thought I would talk about hair and skincare products. And I link those two together only because a lot of these companies that I'm going to be talking about do both or one. So I thought I would just kind of lump them all in together for our last segment. And I will preface this by saying I have not tried any of these products. But I did a little bit of research on each of them, very minimal, I will admit, but just enough to know whether or not they're doing well or if it's not worth your time. And from what I can see, all of these products are worth at least looking into. And the first company I wanted to talk to you about was called Captain Blankenship. It's Blakenship. And the one thing that struck me about this brand in particular was their message statement that they have on their website. It reads, "Clean beauty is the future. Our planet is demanding sustainable solutions. Our intention for 2020 is to inspire cleaner beauty habits, not only by continuing to create effective hair and skincare products with sustainable packaging and clean ingredients, but also by becoming a resource for truly all-natural personal care." And so for me, who likes to think about the planet every now and then, that really struck me as being great. I'm super excited to try some of these products out. The one thing that I am super excited to try is called the Mermaid Sea Salt Hairspray. Now, I am someone who is a big fan of all products that involve sea salt. Sea salt is very healing for your skin, and it also brings great textures for your hair. It's just overall great for the body, except to drink, I know. But the product that I'm interested in is this Mermaid Sea Salt Hairspray. It ranges from $14 to $24. It comes in a glass bottle. So thinking in terms of ecological futures for the planet is there. And it says some of the ingredients include Atlantic sea salt, organic aloe vera, organic sea kelp extract, and organic essential oils of geranium, palmarosa, to create a beachy rose scent. So for me, checks off all my boxes, basically. So I'm very excited about this product. Definitely give them a look, check them out. The second company I wanted to bring up in this segment is called Indie Lee. And one of the things I really liked about their products is that they are trying to create products that are free of toxins and anything synthetic. And one of the things they say is that they want to create skincare without compromising. So this means using all natural ingredients. It means all of those great things that, for me personally, I like to be conscious of, what I'm putting on my face, or at least I try to be. So the fact that they're kind of taking the work out for me of, figuring out what products they're using, they seem to be very transparent about what they're marketing, although I will say they're a little pricey. The one thing that I'm interested in trying is called the Active Oil-Free Moisturizer. If you don't know, I have very oily skin. I said it 100 times in my podcasts. So I try to look for things that don't include oils or that won't add extra oils to my skin. So the fact that they have an oil-free moisturizer definitely interests me. But they have on their website, it's a 50 milliliter tube, but it comes at $60. So not something that I can afford at this moment in time, but definitely something that I am interested to try. And the one thing that I really thought was kind of a selling point for me on this moisturizer is in the description on their website, it says it's a lightweight moisturizing formula that is also designed to protect against environmental stressors. Your active oil-free moisturizer also works well under makeup or on its own. So for me, that is a huge selling point because one, I like to wear makeup and I don't necessarily want to put extra oils. And from what this is describing, it's sounding like throughout the day, it's also going to help decrease the amount of oils on my face. So definitely something I am interested in trying. And then the last product that I wanted to bring up on here is called Saturday Skin. And I guess for me, the thing that stuck out the most was the name. But as I was looking more into it, it seems like they have a pretty solid product. The product that I have seen on here that I'm interested in trying is called Waterfall Glacier Water Cream. Now, I have oily skin, but it doesn't mean that I want my skin to be dehydrated. So I would be interested in trying this moisturizer. And I'm also interested because it says it uses glacier water and hydrating Iceland moss extract to help smooth dry skin while also revealing radiance. So first of all, it's a little more on the pricier side. It's $39 for this tube, which is Again, 50 milliliters or 1.69 fluid ounces. So in my mind, a lot of these products, I want to try them. But unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity or the means to do so at this point. But these are all brands that seem to have a good reputation, aren't as well known as some of your other Sephora brands. And so I just wanted to kind of give a spotlight of like, if you're looking for new hair or skin creams, these might be some good resources for you. And that's kind of the beauty of this podcast is, you know, I can give you some resources and then it's up to you as to whether or not you want to pursue them or look into them, or invest, you know, your time and your money into these products. I'm just trying to be a spotlight on, you know, things that you can look at. But that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Again, congratulations on making it to 2020. I know it can be hard sometimes, and you did it. You made it. And there's only good things coming for you. And that's all I have to say, basically, is congratulations. You're beautiful. And keep being you and being your most authentic you. As always, if you like the podcast, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. A good review always helps us. Let us know how we're doing. Let me know how I'm doing. You can also check us out on social media. Our Facebook page is Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast. And you can also find us on Twitter under GSMC_beauty. I, again, of course, am your host, Becky. And stay beautiful. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast.